Back when I was in college, I realized that I have two speeds in life. One is the frantic road runner energy of getting everything done and trying to stay on top of it all. And the other is the complete opposite. Maybe the natural consequence of going at road runner speed is to be comatose, practically dead, on the couch, able to do nothing. College, I was involved with a lot. It was a great experience, but I didn't ever have good habits of not procrastinating. So I would often be up wee hours working on papers or studying for finals. And I often observed this phenomenon where I would work really hard to get through finals, only to immediately become very, very ill. It's like my body was holding off on whatever bacteria or viruses were going on in there, and as soon as I was able to stop, they met me and I was out for a few days. Anyone else ever experienced this phenomenon? I think it happens sometimes during times of stress, maybe grief, anytime that your body just gets all worked up. Suddenly, when the pressure is off, your body can't take it anymore. And your body breathes out, and there you are, like me, comatose on the couch. Maybe in life you've never experienced that. Please tell me your secrets to being a balanced and stress-free person. But today's psalm is for us, those of us who do need that breathing room, who do find ourselves frantic, worked up. Or maybe we're not frantic or worked up, but let me tell you, if you're not one of those people, there are all kinds of people in your life who are and could use your help. We're talking today about refuge and shelter, like I told the kids, and also about Sabbath. This psalm, Psalm 61, isn't about Sabbath per se, but the Message paraphrase that we read has this beautiful phrase: "You've always given me breathing room, a place to get away from it all, a lifetime pass to your safe house." A lifetime pass to your safe house. A place with God where we are at peace and find shelter. Or, like the kids, maybe it's the Lego store, and there we find joy. We've talked about joy several times in the last week, right? The water park, that was another one with joy. Or, as Jackie said, church, a place where we find peace and rest and community. God, at the very beginning, way back in Genesis, we may know the story, God created the world, and then what did God do? God rested. God made the Sabbath. And if God rested, so should we. We weren't made for the breakneck speed that our world lives at. Now, our culture has gotten away from practices of Sabbath, of rest, of pausing. Really, the only place you might know that it is the Sabbath is if you try to go to Chick-fil-A on a Sunday and are disappointed by the lack of chicken, or anything else for that matter. There are all kinds of things that compete for our attention, but we can learn from other traditions, right, about how to take time apart. Sabbath may seem like an old tradition that doesn't matter anymore because of the way that it's fallen aside in our culture. But the Jewish faith, those of the Jewish faith, still practice Sabbath. Interestingly, and I never thought about it this way, Sabbath begins on Friday night at sundown. And so the first half of a Sabbath is rest, sleep. It is grounded in doing absolutely nothing but restoring ourselves physically. If you're Orthodox Jewish, there are lots of rules about using machines, and people have all kinds of inventions to make life work. Timers for your stove and other appliances, your lights. I saw even recently online a device that would turn someone's breast pump on at certain times of the day so you didn't have to press the button. Interesting. But as I thought about all those rules and sort of the intensity of following to that degree of not pressing any buttons, even those necessary for biological functions, we may not live into Sabbath in that kind of structured way, but maybe there is something we can learn from it. It's not about the rules. It's not about living into this have to and should to, but it's a gift from God to us to know the joy that God had at creation in looking at and marveling at creation and resting. It's also about remembering that we are not God, that we are not in control of everything. Maybe you don't live at the breakneck speed that I try to sometimes, but maybe you do really like to be in control of things in life and get really upset when things don't happen the way that you want them to, when other people don't do what you want them to, when things don't work out. Sabbath reminds us that we are not God. We are human. We are the created, not the creator. God gives us breathing room and Sabbath as a gift, a path to joy, a place to remember that we are human and to be human, to let the events of our lives catch up to us, to sink into God's love, as we talked about a couple weeks ago. We may not want to stop to find that safe house, that breathing room, but it is there for us if we would just be. If we would just be. Now back to the structure of it. The commandment says, and the pattern in Scripture, the pattern that the Jews follow and other faiths too, is to have 24 hours, one day out of 7. And like we said, our culture isn't necessarily set up for that anymore, and not everybody has access to that much time away and time off. Maybe you're caregiving, or like me, you have a baby and there is no time where you are just off the clock. But how can we take that concept and structure into our lives times to receive grace? Not just to physically rest, which yes is important. Please get your sleep. It will help you. I have had to learn that in my life. But also to receive God's love, to rest in God's love. It's about spiritually recharging as much as it is physically. So I'd love to hear, like I said to the kids, from you, what is your favorite place where you feel spiritually recharged? Maybe it's your home, maybe it's outdoors somewhere, your garden, the water park or the Lego store. I don't know, but how can you take that feeling and make it into a regular rhythm in your life? Can't always go to the Lego store, and much to Lydia's chagrin, no, we cannot go to the water park every day. Although if any of you want to take Lydia to the water park, feel free. I will set you up. She will be very pleased. But how can we have micro moments maybe? If we're not used to Sabbath, maybe we just need 30 seconds or a minute, an hour of not doing, of not working, but of being with God and with the people around us. So that's our challenge for today, for this week, is to think about where can you build more breathing room into your life? Where, too, can you help others who are in need of breathing room? How can you be a hand to those who need more hands? Where do you dwell with God in God's safe house, where there is an open invitation as your guest? Find that space this week. Go to that place. And again, we're also working on memorizing a psalm. Lynn Phipps told me Psalm 100 is excellent. Scott Gailey told me last week, he did do the Googling, that Psalm, I think he said 117 is the shortest psalm if you want the shortest psalm to memorize. Next Sunday is the deadline. If you recite a psalm to me, there will be free ice cream. And of course, my love and admiration, maybe even a certificate. Yay. So I need to remember, add that to my list of things to do to acquire the ice cream and the certificates. Scripture is a way that we can rest in God's safe house. So that's why that we've been encouraging this memorization challenge. Again, let our prayer be, you've always given me breathing room, a place to get away from it all, a lifetime pass to your safe house, an open invitation as your guest. You've always taken me seriously, God, made me welcome among those who know and love you. The invitation is there and the door is open for us. And now let's do a minute or two of silence, of resting in God. I know for some of us, a minute or two will be like an eternity. For some of us, a minute or two is nothing. We do have our centering prayer group, by the way. That's another great way that you can practice resting in God. They regularly do silent prayer stretches, centering prayer stretches of 20, 25 minutes. So if one or two makes you antsy, it does me too, don't worry. I don't sit well that long without falling asleep. Anyway, think about them, stretch yourself. Let us rest in God for this minute.